Hi, boys and girls. Today we're going to talk about the life cycle of a plant, which is going to be lesson 7 in your science workbook. If you have watched the read aloud on the life cycle of plants and you have your workbook, you also are going to need your yellow piece of construction paper and this page out of the packets that your parents picked up for you today. You're going to need scissors, a pencil, and some crayons. Go ahead and grab all those things, pause the video, and then we'll get started. Okay, boys and girls, so we're going to talk about the life cycle of a plant. And I want you to think of the word cycle. What does the word cycle mean to you? Now, you guys may think of a cycle as a bicycle. And a bicycle is something that you ride that has two wheels, right? Two wheels. Well, what shape is a wheel? Good job, boys and girls. The shape of a wheel is a circle, and that means it goes round and round and round and round. Well, a life cycle is the same thing. The events in a life cycle, or what takes place or happens during a life cycle, is repeated over and over and over again in the same order. Now, let's talk about how that works for a plant. So the first thing you need for a plant is a seed. So I have a picture of a seed right here. And the first thing that we're going to do is you are going to plant a seed. And remember earlier in our science lesson, we talked about things that a plant seed needs in order to grow into a healthy plant. And that's air, water, sunlight, the right kind of environment or soil, and enough space for it to grow. So first thing that's happened is a seed is planted. So I'm going to move that seed just up here just a bit. Now, with the right temperature and space and water and sunlight, what will happen is that seed will start to split open, and inside the seed is a new plant. And what happens is that new plant starts to grow down into the dirt. It sprouts its roots. And it starts growing into the dirt. And if you remember, boys and girls, the roots is what anchors that plant to the ground so that it can grow and it doesn't fall over or blow away. So first thing that happens is the seeds are going to sprout down into the earth and stay still and firm. Well, the next thing that's going to happen is the stem is going to grow. The stem is going to grow. So you see it coming out right there, and then you have the stem growing here. Now, what's going to happen is part of that is going to grow down into the ground. The other part is going to grow up out of the dirt. It's going to grow up out of the dirt. And what's going to happen there is a seedling is going to start developing. So you have your roots growing down into the dirt, you have your stem growing up out of the earth, and you have a tiny plant called a seedling. Then as that plant begins to grow, again, with the right water, sunlight, air, and space, it's going to grow into an adult plant. And the adult plant will probably make, if it's a flowering plant, it's going to make flowers. If it's a fruit or a vegetable, it'll make its fruit and vegetables. Anyhow, it's going to grow into its adult version of the plant. Then what's going to happen is in those flowers or in their fruit, seeds are developing. And as pollination happens, and we talked about pollination last time, the seeds are going to develop, and then those seeds are going to be spread either through our insect pollinators or through the wind, and new plants are going to form. So those seeds are going to blow or be redeposited. They're going to blow. The seeds are going to get planted into the dirt again with water, sunlight, air, and space. The root's going to come out of the seed, going to anchor into the earth. The stem's going to start to grow up out of the earth. We're going to have a little baby plant called a seedling, which is going to develop into the adult plant, which creates seeds that will then be dropped into the earth to be planted. And again, the cycle, we begin again. So I want you to think of it, the cycle, it's happening over and over and over and over again. Great job, boys and girls. Now we're going to do two things today with the life cycle of a plant. And the first one that we're going to do is we're going to make a little craft. We're going to make a little craft. So remember, pause the video at any time. Miss Brockman tends to talk fast. I apologize for that, but that's just Miss Brockman. So you've got a yellow piece of paper. Mine looks green just because of the glare, but you've got a yellow piece of paper. The first thing that I want you to do, boys and girls, and I'll try to go as slow as I can, is I want you to take your paper in what's called landscape mode. That means it's laying on its side just like this. Good. Now what I want you to do is I want you to fold that piece of paper over in half like this, and you're just going to fold it. And so if you wanted, you could open it just like a book, just like this. Good job. So we're going to do that. Now, the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to cut this paper into two. So the easiest way to do it is just to cut right up that fold using your scissors, just like this. Awesome job, boys and girls. So now I have two pretty equal sizes of yellow paper. I'm going to leave one down. Remember, pause the video if I'm going too fast. Okay, so you have two pieces of paper. So the next thing that I want you to do is you're going to take one piece of paper, and remember, boys and girls, do not use the whole thing because we're going to make kind of a circle like this. But what I want you to do is when you start at the flat side, I want you to keep that flat side. So you're just really kind of cutting a curve like this. So if you look at it, I still have a flat side, and then I have a circle part that goes like this. All right, excellent work. So now what we're going to do with that is we're going to glue that just barely over the top of that piece of paper, just like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a spot of glue right there on the top of my paper, and then I'm going to glue this piece just like this. And you might be wondering, what is Miss Brockman doing? Well, I'm going to show you. Okay, now, the piece that you cut the yellow out of, look, I still have all this left to go, and that's good because I'm going to need it. I want you to cut a couple strips, maybe about an inch big, about maybe the size of your thumb. So I'm just going to start with two, like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these in half so that I actually have four little pieces like this. I have four little pieces like this. You can see them like that. I'm going to turn the light just a little bit. Maybe that'll help. All right, so now I have four little pieces just like that. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to glue those onto my circle right here. So I'm going to put four blobs of glue like this, and then I'm going to put each of those coming off. Now you might think that this is hair, but it's not. I'm going to show you what it's going to be, and hopefully we'll think this is so fun. Okay, so now it's going to look like that. Now I'm going to take this whole thing and I'm going to turn it over. I'm going to turn it over like this, and I'm going to twist this just a little bit like this. Okay, so this actually is going to be a sun. So we've got a sun, because one thing that plants really, really need, boys and girls, is sunlight, So now, what I want you to do is you're going to grab this paper right here, okay? And even if some of you boys and girls cannot read all the words on it, you can look at the pictures and see what order the life cycle of a plant happens. Now, who remembers what the first thing that happens is? Boys and girls, that's right, we need to plant the seed. So I want you to cut off the strip on your paper that says the seed is planted. And like I said, even if you can't read it, you know that that's it because of the seed picture. And we're going to glue that right across the top, just like this, right across the top of our page. And it's okay if it sticks out some, like this. So now it looks like we have the sun, and it says the seed is planted. The seed is planted. Now, pause the video at any time, remember. Now, what comes next? What comes next? So we've planted the seed. What comes next? If you said the roots come out. You are so smart. So we're now going to cut the picture of the seed with the little root coming out of the seed coat, And you are going to glue that just right down below what you've already did. So step number 2 in the life cycle of a plant is the seed is going to sprout its roots like that. Awesome. Now, who knows what comes next? Is it the stem? Is it an adult plant or is it a seedling? Yep, you got it. It's the stem. So go ahead and cut the picture of the stem coming out of that seed coat. And you're going to glue that one next, just like this, on your yellow paper. And see, so we are making the life cycle right underneath the sun. We're making the life cycle of a plant. Okay, we have the seed. The seed sprouted its roots. The stem's starting to grow out of the dirt. What comes next? Is it a seedling or an adult plant? Oh, we can't trick you, boys and girls. It's the seedling. It's the seedling. That's right. Now should have all of these pieces cut. So we're going to glue the final pieces on to our life cycle craft. So remember, the next piece that came is the seedling, Okay, so you saw seed, roots, stem, seedling. What is next? Yep, it is that adult plant. It is the adult plant like that. Now, the very last thing that we're going to do on this craft is at the very bottom, you're going to label your chart with your label. And the label says the life cycle of a plant. And I'm going to put it right there at the bottom. So boys and girls, look at this cool thing we made together. It is the sun. You have a sun, and then you have the whole life cycle of the plant right there. Now, if you're putting your artwork up on the fridge, I think you should put this up next to the craft that we did on pollination with the bees and the flowers. So this is your very own life cycle of a plant. So I'm going to give you a micro clap, and this is a micro clap. If you put your fingers together like this and you go clap, 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 clap. Good job. Now, I want you to make the adjustment, move your craft away once you've finished it. Once you finish it, move that out of the way. And we're going to work on that workbook page. And boys and girls, this is where you're going to need your crayons. This is where you're going to need your crayons. And Miss Bretman is going to use her matte pencils, if I can find them, because I have, oh, they're there. Okay, look, I found my matte pencils. Okay, so now you are going to turn to lesson 7 in your science workbook. And what it says, the instructions today are, we're going to draw 4 pictures to show a plant's life cycle. We're going to draw 4. So we're going to break down everything we talked about into 4 steps. So step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. We're going to start at that top step. Now, who remembers, who can help Miss Brockman and tell me what is the first step? What is the first step? That's right. We need a seed. We need a seed. So I want you guys to draw just the best seed that you can. And I'm going to kind of make mine the shape of like a bean. Okay. And I'm going to color mine in. And I'm trying to go slow so that you guys have time to keep with me. But if you need to pause the video, please feel free to pause the video. So the first thing that I'm doing is I need a seed. I need a seed. Let me put that down a little bit more. Okay, I need a seed. Now, what happens next to that seed? What happens next? Okay, the roots. That's right. Very important. You have roots that come out. So I'm redrawing my seed. I'm coloring in my seed like this. And then I'm going to draw some roots coming down out of my plant. And those roots are going to anchor it to the dirt so that my plant doesn't go anywhere. Now what happens? Boys and girls, that's right. You need your seed again. And I'm going to rotate my seed just so we can see what's going on, which means I'm just putting it in a different spot. So I'm laid my seed over on its side like this, same seed. And I've got my roots growing into the dirt to anchor my plant. Now I'm going to get out my green because out from the dirt is going to sprout a stem like this. And not only is it going to be the stem, but it is going to turn into what's called a seedling or a baby plant. You can make yours look however you want. I'm just going to do a few leaves like this, but you can tell that that is a baby plant. It's just a tiny little plant. Excellent. Remember, pause the video. If you are a better artist than Ms. Brutman, please feel free to take your time, draw me some good pictures. Next, after you have the seedling, what happens? That's right, you're going to get an adult plant. You're going to get an adult plant. And so again, we're just redrawing all those pieces that we've already drawn here and adding to each one. So here are my roots to anchor my plant. Then I need my stem to come up. But now, instead of being a tiny plant, mine is growing into its adult version of the plant. So I've got big leaves here, got big leaves, and I'm even going to put a bright colored flower at the top of my plant, a bright colored flower at the top of my plant. You can use any color you want. I am just going to put a flower on my plant like this to show that this is an adult plant like that. So I started out with my seed. Out came the roots. The roots are in the dirt. I've grown a little seedling, and now I have a full-blown plant. Well, we're going to add one tiny little piece to that. What I want you to do is I want you to get out a black and a yellow. A black and a yellow. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw some pollen. Okay, because pollen, putting everything we've learned together, pollen is what helps create seeds to make new plants. And who, boys and girls, do you remember who is a pollinator? Who is one of our pollinators? Remember we said the wind, but what very important little insect helps us pollinate? You're right, it is the bumblebee. So I am going to stick a little bee right here, and I'm going to give him some wings like this, and then I'm going to give him some black stripes like this. Oh, he's kind of a goofy looking bee. And then I'm going to color him yellow because bees are black and yellow. So I'm going to color him like this. Okay, and so what happens is that bee comes along and helps pollinate and create more seeds so that the seeds can be planted, so that the roots can grow, so that a seedling can hatch into a full-grown adult plant. And that, boys and girls, is the life cycle of a plant. Now, when you have finished that, remember, always pause the video if you need to. When you have finished that, I want to answer the two questions at the bottom of this page. Let's look. Here we go. Question number 1. Does a life cycle show how living things grow? You betcha. Good job. Let's color in that smiley face. That is exactly what a life cycle does. Now, this flower one, it's going to try to trick you, but I bet, boys and girls, that we're way too smart for that. It says, does a life cycle show what living things eat? No, it sure doesn't. Boys and girls, you're going to learn about that when you get older. It's called a food chain, but a life cycle shows how things grow and live and reproduce, not what they eat. Excellent job on lesson 7, boys and girls. We'll see you next time for lesson number 8.